Good evening, everyone. You are very welcome to the How to Get into Medicine webinar. The panel will be delighted to receive any questions you may have. Please use the Q&A feature located at the bottom of your PC or laptop screen. If you're using an iPad, you will find this feature located at the top of your screen. Without further ado, I will now hand you over to Comey and Susie. Thank you.
Hey guys, welcome, future doctors, future med students, hopefully. That's the aim of tonight's talk. So yeah, I'm Comey. I'm third year medicine in UCD, and I'm joined tonight with my co-host Susie. So we're going to take you through everything you need to know about becoming a doctor. So first of all, I'm just going to say we've put a lot of work into this, so thank you for coming, and hopefully you get a lot out of it and you enjoy yourself at the same time.
Hey guys, I'm Susie. I'm in third year UCD with Comey. Thank you all so much for coming. Just before we get started, quick disclaimer. We are all medical students from colleges around Ireland, but we have not been paid or sponsored by our medical schools. They're just our own opinions and experiences. Please ask questions in a Q&A box throughout the event. The more questions, the better. They'll be answered throughout the night by the behind the scenes team, and the most frequently asked questions will be answered live.
Okay, just going through the event schedule, you have opening remarks from Susie and myself. Then Shay's going to take you through applying through medicine, just the basics. Then we have Ella, Rebecca, and Bevan going through the HPAT in depth. So we'll have breakdowns of the sections and practice questions. And then we have Anya and Julia going through alternate routes into medicine, what happens if you don't get in. After that, we have a breakdown of each of the colleges. I don't really know why you guys need a breakdown because we all know UCD is the best, clearly. But yeah, Dylan, Evie, Tiernan and John will be going through that. Then afterwards, we have financials with Keisha, and then we have our Q&A at the end. But before any of that, we have the most important game of Kahoot you'll ever play in your life. Just a little aptitude test, a more accurate aptitude test than the HPAT to see if you're good enough for medicine. So yeah.
There are prizes up for grabs as well, guys. A lab coat, a stethoscope, and a water bottle. So give it your best shot. And we should have the pin up here. So if you all start joining.
We got a lot of people. Oh my God.
Tough competition.
And these are very difficult questions. So there's a lot of you. Thank you guys for showing up. All right.
Okay, guys, I think we'll get started now. So, becoming a medic 2.0. Now, first question, why do you want to be a doctor? You're going to be asked this a lot over the next year, so make sure you have a good answer to it. Our options are wanting to help people, interest in the science of the human body, or an unhealthy obsession with Grey's Anatomy. Now, this is a tough question, so give it a couple of thought. And the answer is, of course, Grey's Anatomy. In my opinion, the best medical TV show.
I'd say Scrubs. I'd say Scrubs.
No, Comey's wrong. Don't listen to him.
Like everything that Grey's Anatomy did, Scrubs did it first. I'm just saying.
So in the lead at the moment, we have India. So watch out for your competition. Next question.
So who is the real doctor here? So we have Ken Jeong. We have Meredith Grey from Grey's Anatomy. Then we have Dr. Who's Matt Tennant. I forget the other one's name.
Matt Smith.
Matt Smith. They're both Matts. Oh my God.
No.
Oh no. See, now I'm getting confused. But Ken Jeong, yes, he actually is a real doctor, which is actually crazy. So it just goes to show you that probably if you will drop out of medicine and dedicate your life to be a comedian.
India
is still number one.
Go India. Now, what is the most important quality for a medical student? Again, tough question. We have Joey from Friends here to give us a bit of inspiration. So are we looking for good communication skills, empathy, curiosity, or looking good in a white lab coat? And there you go. It's looking good in a white lab coat. I can confirm a lab coat makes you 10 times more attractive, although my lab coat is definitely not very white anymore.
India's still number one. Pascal's coming up.
Oh.
Pick your favorite meme. No wrong answers. I don't think there are any wrong answers. So just pick a random meme.
There you go. There really are no wrong answers. Oh, somebody has come for India's lead. Will she make it back in the last question? In order to get into medicine, you should study for the HPAT, study for the LC, wing it, or follow AccessMed. I'm kind of between the bottom two options there. Both strong contenders. And the answer is, of course, follow AccessMed on all social media. Will dramatically increase your chances of getting medicine.
So who won? So in third place, getting the water bottle, Saran? India in second place, getting the stethoscope. And number one, who do we got? Pascal. He's getting the lab coat.
Lab coat. Congrats, guys.
Cool. So guys, if you've won, just DM us or email us. We'll have our socials up soon. So we can get them out to you.
No. So if you missed out on winning the coat, don't worry, you do still have a chance. We also have a giveaway tonight of a stethoscope. So if you would like to win a stethoscope, share a story on your Instagram with a picture of our event, like the example here, with the hashtag #ILookLikeAMedic and tag us at AccessMed Ireland. Or if you're someone who knows how to use Twitter, tweet us a picture with the same hashtag and tag us.
Yeah, and contact us on all our social media. There's our Twitter handles and our Instagram handles. Also email us if you have any personal questions. And also check out our website where we have a whole lot of resources to help you get into medicine. And also on Instagram, we have our Tip Thursdays. Clearly you can see Susie and I looking great on our reels. Yeah, we're basically real famous. I think, is that a thing? It's like a version of TikTok famous on Instagram. But yeah, no, check us out. And then we got our HPAT scholarship. So we're giving away 14 HPAT scholarships to anyone sitting the HPAT in February of this year. So basically, all you got to do is get a letter from your principal or your school saying you are a student, of course, and then send us in a video of your motivations to study medicine. Why do you want to study medicine? And then the scholarship basically covers the cost of the exam. And then you get mentoring sessions by current medical students. So, yeah.
We also have scholarships for students from ethnic minorities or travelling community backgrounds. There's 2 scholarships reserved there for them. And also, if you're from the Midlands, so Laois, Offaly, Westmeath or Longford, you will get preference as well. We have another scholarship for a student with a chronic illness or a disability. So if this applies to you or somebody you know, definitely apply. You have until the 16th of October at 9 a.m. and there's more information on our website. So definitely check that out. And just to finish off, just a little bit of advice that I wish someone had given me. So my main thing would be just not to worry about what everyone else is doing. I know it's so easy to get caught up in what other people are studying, what they're putting on their CAO, the list goes on, but just try not to worry about everyone else and do what's best for you. Help each other out, lean on your friends when you need them, and do the same for them. And it all just makes it a lot easier. And keep a balance. I know this one is difficult, but no one can study all the time. You will burn out. So keep up your hobbies, see your friends, keep a balance. And yeah, just to finish off, here's a picture of me looking very attractive in my PPE. This could be you next year if you follow AccessMed. And yeah, enjoy the talk, guys.
So first we have Shay. He's going to talk you through the basics of applying to medicine.
Thank you, Kome. I'm going to share my screen now. Hey guys, my name is Shay. I'm a fourth year medicine student in UCD. I'm just going to briefly talk to you guys about what you need to apply to medicine and about the application process. I'll only be talking about applying for undergraduate medicine through the CAO, but Anya and Julia will be talking about alternative routes into medicine later in the talk. So firstly, I'd like to congratulate you all for coming to this talk. The fact that you're here means that you've decided to apply for medicine or that you're considering it, which is really impressive because medicine is known for having really steep entry requirements. And it's also known for being one of the more difficult courses you can do in university. So by being at this Zoom, it says a lot about you. And it's impressive to see so many of you not scared by the challenge. So what you need to apply. I will talk about the points requirements in a moment, but first I'll talk about the general requirements. The requirements for all the different universities can seem a bit complicated sometimes, but by picking 2 sciences, it can be really straightforward. So if you are applying to a 5-year course, you are required to study at least 2 laboratory sciences. And if you're applying for a 6-year course, you'll need to study at least 1 laboratory science. In NUIG and RCSI, they both offer a 5-year and a 6-year course. And some universities count agricultural science as a laboratory science, which can be really handy if you are only doing 1 science and you're in 5th year already, because it's a 1-year course, so you can pick it up in 6th year and still be able to apply for the 5-year courses. Chemistry is a requirement for RCSI and UCC, so it's also a good choice. In my opinion, if you want to keep your options the most open, take chemistry along with biology or physics. This will allow you to apply to any undergraduate medicine course without having to wonder whether or not you meet the requirements. And by picking biology, chemistry, and physics, you'll get an advantage if you go into a 6-year course because they often begin by going over the 3 main sciences. So you'll have that background knowledge when you're going in. And doing things this way might not work for you for a variety of reasons, like if you think chemistry is booty cheeks and you just don't like it. So just pick what works for you. And once you have picked your leaving cert subjects, the only other thing you need to apply is a HPAT score. So what is the HPAT? Many of you may already know this, but the HPAT is a multiple choice question exam that takes place in February every year. You have to sit the exam in the same year that you are applying to medicine. This means that you would have to resit the exam every year that you want to apply to medicine. And the exam doesn't test you on knowledge, so it's not an exam you study for, but it's one that you would practice and prepare for. The maximum score is 300, but people can score 180 and still get into medicine. Once you get your leaving certificate points and your HPAT score, they are added together. However, your leaving cert points are modified when you're applying to medicine. This table shows how your points are converted. Essentially, every 5 points that you get above 550 has a value of 1 point. And then your HPAT score will be added to this new number directly. And with the points conversion, you really want to aim for at least 550. And here is another table showing what points combinations people had that successfully got them into medicine. With regards to the HPAT, it is a bit difficult to predict what sort of score you will need for next year because of the points rising so much this year. But you want to aim for the 70th or 80th percentile. But Bevan will talk to you guys later about the HPAT and how to do really well in it. So be looking forward to that one. And on God, I did not know what to put here. So I just put a picture of me from when I was in school and I was in the play. So to actually apply, your school will go in depth with you about registering for the CAO and how to input courses onto your preference list. So I'll just talk about the HPAT. Once you have your CAO number, you can apply for the HPAT at the website that's in the bottom corner of the screen. Registration for the HPAT opens in the winter. Be sure to apply for our scholarship by the 16th of October and possibly get your HPAT paid for by our amazing sponsors and donors. And when you're filling out your CAO, put down courses with a wide range of course requirements so that by any chance that you're disappointed on results day, you'll have a course that you enjoy to fall back on. And when you're thinking of backup courses, consider science and other health science courses. The overlapping course material will make things a lot easier for you if you do end up taking an alternative route into medicine. And in some cases, you'll be able to jump into the second year of medicine. For example, if you study science in UCD and then resit your HPAT exam when you're in first year of science, and then you do end up getting into medicine, you'll be able to begin medicine in the second year of the course instead of first year. So that's all I have to say about applying to medicine. I hope you guys find that helpful. If you have any questions about applying to medicine, be sure to take part in our Q&A or slide into our DMs on Instagram and Twitter.
All right, thank you, Shay. Very informative. So next we got a breakdown of the HPAT section by section. We're going through each type of question and practice questions, and that's going to be done by Ella, Rebecca, and Bevan.
So hi everyone, my name's Ella and I'm a second year medical student from UCD. And in our section today, myself, Bevan and Rebecca will be taking you through the HPAT, all the ins and outs of it. So first of all, a disclaimer. You don't need to get over the 95th percentile to get into medicine. You probably only need to get about over the 80th percentile, so don't be alarmed by our title here. So let's start with the basics of what the HPAT is. So according to ACER, which is the company that makes the HPAT, the Health Professions Admission Test, or the HPAT, is a professionally designed and marketed selection test developed to assess aptitude for studied in allied health professionals. So it takes place around February every year, and it's usually the Saturday of the February midterm. And it, as we've heard earlier, it cost €152 last year, and we do have scholarships for this. So if that's a big amount, don't be alarmed, we'll go through that for you. But most importantly, what does the HPAT mean to you? Well, it's one of the few things standing between you and getting into medicine. And how I like to put it is that you can't really study for the HPAT, but you can prepare. There's no curriculum for the HPAT or a list of things you need to know, but some question styles tend to be repeated and you can practice sample questions on it, but we'll go through that now and how you can prepare over the next little while. So how does the HPAT work? So it's 2.5 hours of intense concentration. So it is a lot. And it's divided into 3 different sections. So section 1 is the logical reasoning and problem solving section. It has 44 questions and you have 65 minutes for this section. And you have about 1 minute 25 per question. So then you have approximately 14 minutes for every 10 questions. Taking your question times in groups of 10 questions is really helpful because not all questions will take as long as you have, and some of them will be longer, some of them will be shorter, it really depends. And then section 2 is all about interpersonal understanding. You have 36 questions and 45 minutes for this section. So you have about 1 minute 10 per question. And so you have approximately 12 minutes for every 10 questions. And then section 3 is all non-verbal reasoning. You have 30 questions and 40 minutes to complete it. You have about 1 minute 15 per question and about 12.5 minutes for every 10 questions. So don't worry too much about this, but basically section 1 and 2 are both respectively worth 40% of the allocated marks, and section 3 is worth 20% of the allocated marks. But you should still focus on section 3, and people do say it's the section you can improve on the most. But now we'll take you through the 3 sections and tell you what they're about, and we'll go through some sample questions we've made after that. So section 1 is all about logical reasoning and problem solving. There's 3 main categories of questions. There's logical reasoning questions, problem solving questions, and data interpretation questions. So the information needed for all these questions will be presented as a graph, table, passage, or different things like that. And after each piece of information or passage, you can have one question or a group of questions. It really depends. And you should focus on your problem solving skills for this section and just how fast you can analyze information critically, because it is tight for time. So now I'll talk you through some tips and tricks for section 1. So I would really advise to practice reading scientific information and speed reading. So reading anything from health articles in the newspaper to National Geographic, because reading scientific literature is quite difficult and you do need to get used to it. Another tip is less definitive answers are more likely to be right when you're answering questions. So questions with things like approximately, on average, may, might, can, are more likely to be right. And then the converse of that is that definite or absolute statements are often wrong because you're tying yourself to the answer. So always, never, definitely, must. Often avoid questions with those answers. So beware of negatively phrased questions. A lot of the questions can kind of trick you because you'll always think to look for the positive, but sometimes they can put a negative spin on it. So just watch out for that. Estimating is crucial. You're going to have to do some maths in the exam and you won't have a calculator. So I would advise to practice your long division and long multiplication that you haven't done since primary school, because it will help on the day. And you won't have time to do the full question out as regards the maths. So you'll have to take a guess, but generally only one answer is close. They all have a bit of range in them. So with estimating, you will get the correct answer. You should always start with what you know and only use the information given. So in some of the questions, you might have previous knowledge on the topic, but this knowledge mightn't be correct for what they have in the question here. So you have to be careful not to use things you already know and just use what's in the question. I recommend using Venn diagrams or sketches to simplify the information and just break down the question for you and make it simpler. And the best advice I have for you is to eliminate as many of the answers as possible and then make your best guess, because you won't have time to go through all of them. And guessing is good in the HPAT because you are under time pressure and you won't know everything. So now Rebecca will talk you through section 2 and 3.
Thanks so much, Ella. Hi everyone, so my name is Rebecca and I am a second year medical student in UCD, or the best college in Ireland. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit now about section 2. So section 2 is all about interpersonal understanding and emotional intelligence. So there's a few different types of questions. There can be dialogues, literary text, personal reflections, and often involve interactions between healthcare professionals and patients, but can include conversations between friends, family, and any general scenario. So section 2 definitely was not my best section. I personally really struggled with the vocab, but it's just important to try and put yourself into the person's shoe and just try relate to the person. Looking at the situation in a positive light definitely helps. If you shine a negative light on things, you're much more likely to be guided to the wrong answer and you'll end up putting your own bias into the situation. So if you're in TY, 5th year, if you're really eager, start reading a few books, maybe about emotional intelligence, or any books that have been written by doctors. They'll just really help kind of get you, just become aware of the situations you'll be dealing with. And if you're in 6th year, I would highly recommend looking at vocab lists. John has very kindly composed a document with all the important vocab that you need to know. So once you fill out the feedback form at the end of this session, you'll get access to all of that, which is really, really helpful. So yeah, just practice with this, lots of vocab, and you'll be great at it before long. So we're going to move on to section 3 there now. So there's 3 main types of questions in section 3. Next in series, so you'll be given 4 shapes and you have to decide what comes next. Pick the middle, you'll have 5 shapes and you have to logically put them in sequence and figure out what will be in the middle, or a missing segment where you'll be given an image and you have to with a blank space and you need to figure out what goes in the middle. These questions, your head does feel like it's going to explode. They're abstract style, there's loads of patterns and rules, and they look awful to begin with, I'm not going to lie, but the more and more practice you do, the easier these become. The patterns that ACER use are repeated all the time. So once you get used to them, whether something's moving in one position, then 2, could be clockwise, anti-clockwise, different degrees, you will get used to them. It's not nice to begin with, but the more practice you do, the easier this will come. So yeah, just lots of practice. So I'm going to talk to you now a little bit about my own experience with HPAT. So I sat HPAT in February 2020, right before COVID, in the O'Reilly Hall in UCD. It is by no means an easy exam, but it's definitely not as impossible as some people make it out to be. So everyone studies for the HPAT differently. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my own experience, but I'm not telling you how to study because everyone is different. So I began researching the HPAT, I suppose, over the summer before 6th year. I just wanted to know what to expect, what had I got myself in for, what type of questions were going to come up. So I did a little bit about that over the summer, but I didn't actually start practicing any questions till I went back to school. So I tried to set myself a timetable of all the practice questions and exams I wanted to get done myself. And I set a review date for each of these, which is really, really important to review all the questions that you do, because you will guess plenty of answers and you will guess them right sometimes. That's part of the exam itself. But if you've gotten something right from guessing, you're never going to learn correct way to approach the question. So just review every single question that you do. It will really make a big difference to your score. Now I started kind of September doing these. Ella didn't start now till I think October, November, if I'm right. So it's different for everyone. Don't feel under pressure if you haven't started yet. It is totally normal not to have started till even Christmas. Now something I did, which is a little bit controversial, is do absolutely no HPAT study the week before the exam. I just wanted to be relaxed and well rested going in, but Ella crammed the week before, so it really is up to you, whatever works for you. Going in the morning of the exam, I was petrified. I was so intimidated by the big hall and everyone around me, but just remember, everyone is in the same situation as you. Everyone feels nervous. So just focus on doing the best that you can do and push all of the negative thoughts aside. You've done everything you can, just don't stress, you'll be okay. Now, I came out of the exam really disheartened and I got into my car and I just cried. I was so upset by how it went. I thought I'd failed everything and I started looking up courses that didn't require HPAT because I was like, I'm never getting into medicine. I'm never going to be a doctor. Now, in the end, I did really well and luckily I got into UCD. So just whatever you think you did, don't stress it. You probably did a lot better than you can think. So just put it to the back of your mind, concentrate on your leaving cert, and that's all. So I'm going to pass you on to Bevan now, who's going to talk a little bit more about the HPAT. Thank you.
Hi everybody, my name is Bevan. I'm a fourth year medical student in UCD. So I sat the HPAT back in 2018, a few years ago in UCC, because I'm from Cork. So back then I learned how to approach a general HPAT question. So this approach you can use for all three sections, and it's just a good thing that if you're in the exam hall and you forget everything you've learned, just remember these general approaches to keep you grounded during the exam. So when approaching a HPAT question, there are two basic approaches. One, solve the problem and move on. Or two, you can't solve the problem, skip the question and come back to it later. The approach of don't give up, think a little harder, hang in there is a waste of time. If you're getting bogged down in a question, first, try a different approach. Circle the question number and come back to it when finished the rest of the questions, rather than racing against the clock. I was told to consider the HPAT as a marathon. Stamina, focus, and determination are all needed to power through the marathon, which lasts 2.5 hours, and then you're done. Then you don't think about it until June. All questions are MCQ and follow the same basic structure. So A, B, C, D, or A, B, C, D, E in section 3. And make a guess. If you end up skipping through so many questions, you have loads of blanks at the end, just make a guess. Our teammate Holly had a fantastic approach. She marked C if she ran out of time or couldn't solve a question. Most students don't get all the questions right. Nobody gets the top 300 marks. Most students get at least a third of the questions wrong, and that's normal. You will get into medicine if you get loads of questions wrong. So here is an example of a statement of results. This student got 100 percentile and still only got 224 questions right. So this just proves that you don't need to get every single question right. You can get lots of questions wrong. So what are percentiles? So you've may heard this buzzword over and over again when you hear about the HPAT. So the percentile just means how you performed in relation to the other people that sat the HPAT in that year. So for example, if you performed in the 97th percentile, that means your results are higher than 96% of the other students that sat the exam this year. And the percentile band just exists to show you how you performed. Now, the percentile doesn't matter for calculating the results. Your overall score will be added to your Leaving Cert result. And don't let the clickbait title of this section fool you. As Ella said, you don't need to get over 95th percentile in the HPAT. You also don't need 265. You'll get into medicine with a combination of good Leaving Cert results and a HPAT score. So here's a table that you saw earlier. Shay had it earlier on in the slides. And we highlighted this table red to show you the combined scores that would have got you into medicine in 2021. Now, this looks very overwhelming. So this is just the Leaving Cert score and the HPAT combined. But I'm going to give you 2 sample students. So let's call them Tom and Jerry, who I'm sure you're very familiar with those characters. And Tom got 65 in his Leaving Cert because of the adjusted points that Shay talked about earlier. That was adjusted to 565, and his HPAT score was 180. So he got 805 points. So that gave him enough points to get into UCD. And Jerry got 530 in his Leaving Cert. His HPAT score was 210. That gave him 740 points, and he went to UCC. So this graph here is from the CEO website. I got the link on the screen if you want to screenshot it, and it's a fantastic resource just to get to grips with how to apply to medicine. And I would definitely read it after today's talk if you're interested in applying. Right, so we're going to address a somewhat controversial question that I'm sure many of you want to ask. So HPAT prep courses, are they worth it? So HPAT prep courses and grinds are an industry that thrive for a reason. They do help. I availed of a HPAT prep course myself. And why did I do this? Because I did not know enough about the HPAT exam or where to find the resources to study. But prep courses and grinds are incredibly expensive, and the financial burden can make them very inaccessible for many, many students. You can sit the HPAT exam without prep courses. However, finding their study resources is difficult and futile unless you have the correct guidance. And that's why AccessMed is here to help you. We're here to introduce more accessible and feasible ways for studying for the HPAT and getting into medicine. So watch this space. Make sure to follow AccessMed on our socials, because we're working on some really, really exciting projects, including HPAT question banks and other few interesting endeavors. So please do keep up to date with us on our social media. So now, if you had a chance to look at our Instagram earlier this afternoon, you would have seen we posted a few practice questions. We didn't try to give you too much time because we didn't want everyone sharing their answers with each other. But we are now going to go run through a few practice questions from all 3 sections. So Ella and Rebecca will come back here now, and we'll start off with section 1, which Ella is going to go through these questions.
Perfect. So this is a typical kind of HPAT question you get for section 1 with the table here. So I'll talk you through it now. There are 4 blood group types people can have: A, B, AB, and O. The table below shows the blood groups a child may have depending on their parents' blood type. In a particular family, there are a mother, father, and 2 biological children. The mother has type O blood, and the oldest child has type B blood. What type of blood does the younger child have? So we'll get a poll up there and we'll give you the option to answer. So for answer A, they must have type B blood. B, they must have either type A or type B. C, they must have either type AB, B, or A. And D, they must have either type A, B, or O. So we'll give you a second there to answer, and then we'll close the poll and go on with the explanation. Perfect. So hopefully you got a chance there to get in your answers. So we'll close the poll there. And so here's how I would approach this question. So I'd look at the table, and first of all, I'd write down what we're given. So the mother, we're told, has type O blood. So I would write down mother equals O. The father, we're not told what blood type he has. So we say father equals question mark. The oldest child, we're told, is B. So I would write down oldest child equals B. And the youngest child, we're not told what blood they have. We're trying to work that out. So I would write down the 4 options, and then we can cross them out as we go. So here I would look at the highlighted bit of the table and see the mother has type O blood. So the bottom part of the table there is where the children must be. So they could be in either of the 4 boxes there, but we're told the oldest child is type B. So that limits us to the middle 2 boxes because they're the only ones with type B. So the only blood type that isn't in that is AB. So we cross that off, and then we can look at our answers again. And from there, we can decide which one is the correct one. So we'll go on and look at the answers. So we can tell from this, we have A, B, and O in our thing. So which answer has that option? Well, it's D. That's the only one with A, B, and O. So we'll check if we're correct. And the answer is D. Okay, so hopefully everyone got the right answer there. We'll move on to the next question. Perfect. So this one isn't the kind of question that will come up in the HPAT as in the Love Island side of it. We're trying to keep it interesting for everyone. So in the Love Island final, there are 6 contestants. The 3 girls are Sarah, Heather, and Betty, and the 3 boys are Tom, Sam, and James. They are coupled up so that every boy is coupled up with a girl. All 3 of the boys have different jobs. The 3 boys are a plumber, an influencer, and a doctor. So here's our pieces of information. Tom is not the plumber. Heather is coupled up with James. Sam is the influencer. Sarah is not coupled up with the doctor. And the plumber is not coupled up with Betty. This is all a bit overwhelming, so you would need pen and paper. Okay, so we'll get a poll set up there now for you. And we'll go through the answers for the question. So which of the following can be said with certainty? A, it is not clear if Betty is coupled up with the influencer or the doctor. B, Betty must be coupled up with Tom. C, Sam must be coupled up with Betty. And D, it is not clear if the plumber is coupled up with Sarah or Heather. So we'll give you a second there to put in your answers. Okay, hopefully everyone got them in, and we'll close the poll there now and go through the explanations. So what I would do first is to assign jobs to the boys. So I'd simply start with writing down the 3 boys' names. So Sam, Tom, and James. The next thing I'd do is I'd go through the information and I'd figure out which information I could use. So the first thing I would look at is that Heather is coupled up with, that Sam is the influencer. So I would write influencer over Sam. And then I would look at Tom is not the plumber. So I'd write not plumber over Tom. So then from this, we know we have influencer, doctor, and plumber. So if Tom is not the plumber, he must be the doctor. And then the only one left is James, so he must be the plumber. So then we go assign the girls to the boys and their couples. So we're told Heather is coupled up with James. So under James, I would write Heather. And then we were told that the plumber is not coupled up with Betty. So Sarah is not coupled up with the doctor. So under Sam then, because he's the influencer and the only one who's not the doctor who's not coupled up, I would write Sarah. And that leaves Betty to be coupled up with Tom. So now we'll go that we have our people coupled up, we'll go through our answers and see which one works. So if everyone wants to look at these. So A, it's not clear if Betty is coupled up with the influencer or the doctor. Well, we have Betty coupled up with the doctor, so that can't be correct. B, Betty must be coupled up with Tom. Well, we have Betty coupled up with Tom, so that must be our correct answer. C, Sam must be coupled up with Betty. Well, that's not correct because we have Sam coupled up with Sarah. And D, it is not clear if the plumber is coupled up with Sarah or Heather. Well, we know that the plumber is James and he's coupled up with Heather, so that can't be correct. So we're going to go with answer B. So well done to everyone who got answer B for that there. So now Bevan will talk you through some section 2 questions.
Hi. Okay, thanks very much, Ella. So I'm going to go through a section 2 practice question now. So I'm going to just read this extract. So this passage is a script extract from the 1991 movie Thelma and Louise. So passages of dialogue are very common in section 2 questions, and the objective is to analyze the interpersonal relationships and emotion conveyed in the dialogue. So let's read the script together. So read the extract and answer the following questions. Louise, you're not touching that car. Thelma, my stuff's in the trunk. God, you care more about that car than you do about most people. Louise, most people just cause me trouble, but that car always gets me out of it. Louise slams the closet door. Thelma jumps. Thelma, what do you mean? Louise, why are you acting like this? Thelma, acting like what? How am I supposed to act? Excuse me for not knowing what to do after you blow someone's head off. They are silent for a moment. Louise, you could help me try to figure it out. I got to figure out what to do and you could try to help me. Thelma, I suggested we go to the police, but you didn't like that. So frankly, Louise, I'm all out of ideas. Louise, well, what's the big rush, Thelma? If we just give them some time, they'll come to us. Oh Christ, I'm just not ready to go to jail yet. Why don't you go out to the pool or something and I'll figure it out. Okay, so we're going to attempt some questions now. So I'm going to open the poll while I read through the question and everyone can get their guesses in. So, question 1. So frankly, Louise, I'm all out of ideas. Thelma's demeanour in this statement is A, reproachful, B, uncooperative, C, exasperated, or D, despondent. So I'll give you a few seconds to think about it and then we'll go through the answer. Okay, we'll close the poll there now. And this question is examining Thelma's outward behaviour in a particular moment of the passage. So in section 2, it may appear that many of the answers could be applied, but we're looking for the most correct answer. So to answer this question, we need to use a process of elimination. B is uncooperative is incorrect because Thelma is not trying to be unhelpful. She's gone through possible solutions to their predicament and she's not succeeding in finding a viable option. D, despondent, is incorrect because Thelma is not in low spirits and despondent in this part of the dialogue. Despondent does mean lacking hope, but it implies a gloomy demeanour. In fact, Thelma is very spirited and expressive in this statement. A is incorrect, reproachful, because while Thelma may be expressing disapproval in her previous statements, it's not the main point of this particular statement. Her demeanour is intensely frustrated. She's trying her best to come up with a solution to their problem, and she's coming up short every time. So therefore, C, exasperated, is the correct answer. When we compare despondent and exasperated with each other, they might seem quite similar, but the latter is a stronger emotion and works better in this scenario. So that's why C, exasperated, is the correct answer. We're going to move on to another question. Well done to everybody who got that one right. So we'll open the poll again. And brilliant. So what is troubling Louise the most throughout this passage? A, Thelma wants to get her stuff from Louise's car. B, she has just committed a serious crime. C, Thelma is being unhelpful. Or D, she may be going to a jail as a consequence of her crime. So I'll give you a few seconds there to answer and best of luck. Okay, we'll close it. Sorry, I know I've given very little time, but we want to run through the answers now. So after reading through the options, we can see that there's definitely a good few reasons after reading this paragraph why Louise may be troubled and distressed. But let's go through some of the options and see which is the thing that is most troubling Louise in the passage. So I'm going to go to C first. And in C, Thelma is trying to act her best to act rational in this extremely stressful situation, but this act itself is not making Louise especially worried or troubled. So C right now doesn't seem like the most correct answer, but we'll look at the other options too. We'll look at A next. So while Thelma is demanding to get her stuff out of Louise's car, and that might infuriate her, it's not what's troubling her the most throughout this passage. So A and C, you could argue against, but let's look at the other two options then. Let's look at B and D. So the main difference between B and D is that Louise in B is feeling troubled because she committed a crime. So she feels anxious that she committed the crime itself. And in D, she's troubled and distressed that she will go to jail. And from what we read in the paragraph, we can definitely see the answer is in between B and D. These are the most troubling things to her in the passage. But the most correct answer is D. It's what's troubling her most in this passage. She's constantly scared of getting caught by the police. So that's the correct answer here. Now, questions like this in the HPAT are made to catch you out. You can easily read this quickly, say A and move on. However, in the question here, the word most is the most important word in the question itself. So well done to everyone who got that question right. And now we're going to move on to question 3. So I'll open the poll again for the final time in section 2. So what is the strongest emotion that Louise is feeling at the end of the passage? A, perturbation, B, panic, C, remorse, or D, dread? So I'll give you a few seconds and we'll come back. Right, we'll close the poll again. I hope everyone got their answers in. And in this question, we're looking at the emotion that Louise is feeling at the end of the passage, not the start of the passage, not in the middle of the passage, just after her last quote. So we're going to use a process of elimination again, and straight off the bat, C, remorse can be crossed off. Louise is not feeling particularly remorseful about her crime or guilty, but for the matter of fact, at the end of the statement. So we cross off C. Let's look at A, perturbation. It means anxiety. However, it's a soft emotion. It implies mental uneasiness rather than complete distress. So we'll keep an eye on it, but it doesn't seem like the most correct answer. So let's look at B and D again. Dread. It means that she's anticipating something apprehensively and fearfully. And while she doesn't want to go to jail, the resounding emotion in this statement, by the end of the passage, the resounding emotion is panic. It's a stronger and more lively emotion than perturbation and dread. It's an uncontrollable fear and anxiety, often causing wildly unthinking behavior. So therefore, B is the most correct answer in this question. So I hope you guys enjoyed attempting the section 2 questions. And now we're going to pass you on to Rebecca to do some practice section 3 questions.
Thanks very much, Bevan. Right, so we're going to look at a pick the middle question to begin with. So hopefully you might have had a chance to see this on the Instagram earlier, because sadly you're not going to have a lot of time to look at it right now. So we're going to get a poll up now. So A, B, C, D, or E. So we need to figure out which one is going to go in the center. So I'll give you a couple of seconds there just to have a look at these and get your answers in, and then we'll go through the solution. Just pay attention to any shapes that are moving or what direction they could be going in. Okay, so hopefully people have their answers in there now, and we're going to take a quick look at the solution. Sorry for rushing everyone now, we're just a little bit tight for time. So there's 2 different shapes inside here. We have the square and we have the circle. So what I would do is I would map out both of these. So if we head on to the next slide here now, we'll get to see these mapped out. Let's see. Sorry now. But anyway, if we look at the square, yeah, here. So we have our square, and each time this is we start with C, and then it's going to move to A. So if we see this, it's moving by 45 degrees. Then from A to E, it moves by 90 degrees. From E to B, it's going to move 135 degrees, and B to D, 180 degrees. Now, alternating degrees and moving something like that may not be something that is obvious to you now, but it is something that ACER will use again. So just good thing to, I suppose, spot it now, and you'll learn from it in the future. And then for the circle, we start, for the circle, we said we start with C for the square. So we'll start with C again. Then if we move 1 space over, we get here for A. Then if we move 2 spaces, we'll get to E. 3 corners then to B, and 4 corners will end up back at D. So if we look at D, we can only see the square. So what we're going to do is assume that the circle is underneath. And that is the sort of sneaky thing that ACER will definitely do to you. So yeah, if anyone got E there, well done. If not, don't worry. Hopefully you'll learn from these patterns and you'll spot them next time. So we'll take a look at our second question now in section 3. So this one is missing segment. So we'll get a poll up there again now. And yeah, so if you all want to take a vote on them, so pay attention to maybe the shapes, different types of shapes, different angles, different sides. See if you can figure anything out there, if anything logically makes sense. So let's give you a few seconds there to have a look. Okay, Hopefully everyone's ready there now. So we're going to take a quick look at the solution. So we're going to focus on the top line here now. So the square, the heart, and the semicircle. So the square has 4 sides, the heart has 2 sides, and the semicircle also has 2 sides. So 4, 2, and 2. Possibly see a correlation there. And 2 and 2 is 4. Then we take a look at the second row. So we have a shape there with 5 sides, a line, which is only 1 side, and we have a parallelogram, which is 4 sides. So 5, 1, and 4. I think we're seeing the same pattern. So let's take a look at the final row. This shape down the corner has 9 sides, and then our triangle has 3. So 9 take 3 is going to leave us with 6. So we need to find a shape here that has 6 sides. So A and B, definitely not. And C and D, you will have to count them out. So just be careful in the exam if you're counting them out. Some sides are really, really small and you might miss them. But C is our correct answer here, as it has 6 sides. So well done to everyone who got those questions right. If not, don't worry, there's so much more time for you guys to practice before your exam. And please check out our website. There's so many resources already on it, and we will be working on them over the coming weeks to update them all for you guys. So best of luck to everyone sitting their HPAT soon, and I hope you all do amazing. Thanks.
Thank you so much to Ella, Rebecca, and Bevan. That was some great advice. Hopefully it makes the HPAT a little bit less daunting. Next, I'm going to pass you on to Anya and Julia, who are going to talk about alternative routes to medicine.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Anya, and I'm a 3rd year RCSI medical student. I'm going to be talking to you, myself and Julia are going to be talking to you tonight about what to do if you don't get in the first time and alternative routes to get in. So if you don't get in, it's not the end of the world. There are lots of different options, don't panic. So I'm going to be talking to you about the Leaving Cert and HPAT and repeating those together, and also repeating the HPAT on its own. And Julia is going to be talking to you about graduate versus mature entry, studying medicine abroad, and also the physician associate route. But do remember that the option for someone else might not be the right option for you. It's a very personal journey, and you might choose a different option over someone else. So do keep that in mind. So I'm going to talk about my own journey first. I had quite a roundabout route into medicine. I had 2 Leaving Certs, 3 HPATs, and a year of pharmacy. And yes, bucket loads of tears before I got in. I did my first Leaving Cert in 2017, and I did quite well, but I thought I could improve my Leaving Cert score more reliably than my HPAT. So I repeated both in 2018, and my Leaving Cert increased quite a lot, but unfortunately my HPAT only went up by 3 points. So I missed medicine that year, and I actually got my 3rd CAO choice, which was pharmacy. And I was so heartbroken that I tried to put medicine to the back of my mind for a few weeks. But as I say here, if you really want to do medicine and it's your calling, it's just the pull towards it won't go away. So I reapplied again for the 3rd time by December that year. And luckily, I actually got 85% on the 3rd time and got to choose where I wanted to go, which was unprecedented, and I was absolutely thrilled. So do remember that if you don't get in the first time, it's not the end of the world, and it really doesn't mean you won't make an excellent doctor. It really doesn't. I have lots of friends in my course who didn't get in the first time and they're thriving academically. It's no reflection, and it does teach you how to be resilient, and that's really important in med school. It's a long journey, it's a tough journey, and it's important to have those tools when you start. So I know it's a bit cliche, but don't give up on your dream, no matter how hard it gets. So this is where I started, this is where I am now. And now I'm going to talk about option 1, so repeating the Leaving Cert with the HPAT. Take a deep breath. Like, it is really scary when it happens, it's really disappointing, but don't rule out repeating. I know myself, when the idea of repeating at the first was just the last thing on my mind, all that stress, starting again. And it's easy to rush into taking your 2nd CAO choice, as I have here. It's very easy. Everybody else is moving on to college. You just want to join. But I found chatting to someone who was in a similar situation very helpful. I didn't have any medical connections, but I was talking to someone who's repeating for a different course, and they understood how it felt, and it really inspired me to go back, and I thought maybe I could do that as well. And an extra year or two really does feel like ages when you're 18 or 19, but I can guarantee you by 22, you don't even notice. It just feels like a few months. Your other option would be to repeat the HPAT on its own by either starting another course or taking a gap year and working. But there is a financial difference that you should consider. So I talk here about the free fees scheme. So if you start another course, you may be liable to pay full tuition fees if you complete 1 year of that course and then join medicine. So that can be anywhere up to €10,000 in some colleges. Now there are options like UCD, where if you could do science, there you can transfer into year 2 of medicine and you won't lose your free fees. And also in NUIG, you can do a course in any other university that covers some of the modules in pre-med, and then you can go straight into second year. But it is something to consider. And there is also no guarantees with the HPAT. So as I say here, you need to have a backup plan. So if you are taking a gap year and you say, right, I'll repeat the HPAT and I'll go back, try again, you do need to, if you do have, make sure that your second choice in your CAO is something you would like to do and that you could do for 4 years and then try graduate entry. Because some people, their HPAT score goes down when they repeat, and other people it only goes up by a little bit, like me. So do keep that in mind. I'm now going to pass you on to Julia, who's going to speak to you about some of your other options.
Thank you, Anya. So my name is Julia, and here is a picture of what I think I look like versus what I actually look like. So it's a very stark contrast. I'm in second year of the 6-year undergraduate medicine program at RCSI, and I only studied one science subject for the leaving cert, which was biology. So that meant that I went into foundation year, which is like pre-med, and I completed that last year. I'm from County Wicklow, and I'm going to talk to you about the differences between studying graduate entry medicine and mature entry medicine, and then a little bit about studying abroad. So fees are really going to be probably the most significant difference when you're trying to decide between graduate entry medicine and mature entry medicine, with graduate entry medicine being a lot more expensive. So other factors you might want to consider is the duration of the course, where graduate entry medicine is a condensed 4-year course. The GAMSAT is an exam that students applying to graduate entry medicine are required to sit, and then they are also required to hold a 2-1 in an undergraduate degree, and this can be any degree. So I just included the universities that offer graduate entry medicine in Ireland. And I just want to bring your attention as well to this new graduate entry course in Derry. So it's a 4-year course with tuition fees being only slightly higher than for undergraduate medicine in the Republic of Ireland. And this is for graduate entry medicine. So this is where the tuition fees for the academic year for 2021-2022 are £4,530. So here you would have the perks of lower fees without having to move to Europe. So just to briefly mention that there are no scholarships available for graduate entry medicine, with the exception of the UL program. And this means that a lot of students will opt for loans. And the UK is a much cheaper option for graduate entry medicine because the NHS subsidises the tuition fees. So there's actually nearly a 40,000 difference in the cost of fees between Ireland and the UK, which is huge. So moving on to mature entry medicine, if you do apply for mature entry medicine, the HPAT does come back to haunt you. So it is also required for mature entry, and there is an interview as well. It's actually kind of interesting here because I've heard a lot of people being asked about their opinion of the HPAT during their interviews. And a requirement for mature entry medicine is that you have to be 23 years of age or older on January 1st of the year you're applying to the CAO. And as a mature entry student, you will complete the 5 or the 6 year undergraduate course. One of my friends actually is a mature entry student, and he is also doing the 6-year program, even though he has a background in science with an undergraduate degree. And mature entry medicine is available at these 5 universities. So we have RCSI, UCD, Trinity, UCC, and Galway. So for applicants that apply for mature entry medicine who haven't been to university before, there is a route to mature entry medicine in UCD, where you first complete a year on UCD's Access to Science, Engineering, and Agricultural course before progressing onto the undergraduate medicine course. So there's also an Access program in Trinity, and this one is aimed at students from disadvantaged backgrounds, where you first complete a foundation year and then progress into medicine as well. And just to mention here as well that our HPAT scholarships are available for students applying through both the UCD Access course and the Trinity Access program. And the fees for mature entry medicine will be higher if you have an undergraduate degree already. And just to mention as well, we have a guide on our website, and that will walk you through mature entry. So now that brings us on to studying abroad. And I know that it can seem daunting to move to another country for university, and that's for both students and parents as well. For me, when I was repeating, I considered going to Poland if I didn't get medicine again. And I know that that was like a really big thing to consider. But the option is there, and there are organizations that you can apply through, such as UNICAS. And I will say, as I've mentioned, I study at RCSI, and it's very much an international college. And the majority of my friends are international students. And sometimes I almost wish that I was an international student too. You get to experience a whole different culture, and it's all very exciting. So I suppose, like with everything, there are good things and there are bad things as well. So entrance exam wise, if we look at the UK, so there are 2 exams, the UCAT and the BMAT. The exam which is required will depend on the university. And obviously there are differences, but generally we're talking about the same idea as the HPAT. And then in terms of applying to the UK, the one thing to bear in mind is that the applications are earlier than they are in Ireland. So that's usually around early autumn. And the cost of taking these exams is lower than the HPAT, which is also a bonus. So we do have free resources on our website to guide you through applying to the UK. And graduate entry in the UK is also an option with cheaper tuition fees in comparison to Ireland, as I've mentioned. There are many options across Europe that offer medicine through English, but fees can be higher than in Ireland. But again, this will just depend on the university. And as well, just to mention on the practical side of things, the cost of living will also vary from country to country. So here I've just included a list of universities in the different countries across Europe that offer medicine through English. So I won't bore you by reading through these, but you can just take a screenshot and then you'll be able to refer back to them. And you can see here, for example, in Poland, that the cost of living is relatively low and the flights are also cheap. So that would be handy as well to bear in mind for when you're going back and forth. So on here we just have some more universities as well, and I'll just give you a second to take a picture of this slide. And then we can move on. Okay, so here I just thought I would include an example. So this is a university in Budapest where around 50% of students are internationals. And that tends to be a trend. So where you will have a significant proportion of international students at these universities that offer courses such as medicine through English. So it's definitely not a case of, you'll be the only person there from Ireland. And when looking at these universities abroad, it's important to check whether or not the degree is recognized by the General Medical Council and the Irish Medical Council. So you can see this one here in Budapest is. And the applications open on January 1st and they close on May the 4th. And this university here, the tuition fees are high, but like I've said, this will vary from country to country and also from university to university. So here, this is just a flow chart, and it can guide you through different routes depending on your Leaving Cert results, your HPAT score, and it's kind of like a nice one-stop shop. Even if you just want to take a screenshot of this slide, and then you'll be able to refer back to it. Okay, so you probably feel like this now, a little bit bombarded with information. It was a lot to take in, but we do have a talk on just the different routes into medicine on our Instagram page. So you can go back to that and digest the information a little bit more. And I hope that you have realized that it really is not the end of the world if you don't get it in the conventional way, because most people don't. And I hope that you found this helpful.
All right, thank you, Anya and Julia. Yeah, I think it's like important to remember that like there's not one way to get into medicine. Like if you want to be a doctor, you'll find a way. So now we move on to our talk about the colleges. So we have Dylan from UCC, Evan from NUIG, Jinan from Trinity, and John from RCSI. Everyone talking from UCD, a bit weird, but just remember while you're going through all these colleges, UCD is the best.
So hi everyone, my name is Dylan. I'm a fourth year medical student in UCC. So first things first, we're just going to have a poll for you guys to determine which college is the best, okay? So hopefully that poll will come up there now and you guys just tell us which one you like the most. Okay, so I'd say that's enough time now. So if we can have the results of that. Okay, wait, it's pretty even, but they're all wrong. UCC is in fact the best college, okay? So I'm going to talk you through it a bit more now. So 2 seconds there. Doesn't want to let me go to the next slide. Bound to happen to someone, and unfortunately it's me that it won't let me go to the next slide. There we go. Wait, here we are. So here's the UCC starter pack. So it's pretty accurate. You've got the Beamish, which is pretty popular, and then the Blarney Stone is meant to give you powers of persuasion and the gift of the gab. So hopefully I can convince you all to come to UCC. So it's a 5-year fun-filled action pack course, and the only requirement is chemistry and one other science. So it's a leading research institute, and MRT is a really popular society. So it's the Medicine Research and Tech Society. They've raised a ton of money for charity. They've done loads of campaigns throughout the year, and they help you with your college work as well quite a lot. So they've ran many events and workshops such to help prepare us for our research product, which is in 3rd, 4th, and 5th year. So there's early patient contact, which is great. Because it does kind of lessen the blow of when you actually do become an intern and are in fact a doctor, and the small group tutorials really help with the actors coming in and you can practice doing histories and exams. There's a wide variety of placements, which I really like because I still am not quite sure what kind of doctor I want to be. And this week I've been on obs and gynae, so I've been seeing lots of babies being born. Before that I was oncology, before that infectious diseases. So it really gives you a broad overview before you kind of have to decide what route you want to go down. It's ranked really highly globally, and there's loads of clubs and societies. So I myself like tennis and powerlifting. So the advantages are great teaching. You can go abroad to placements, so you can go to France, Sweden, and if you do Surgeon Union, which I'll talk about in a bit, you get to go to Africa. The accommodation isn't quite as expensive as in Dublin, and you don't even need transport. That's how good as you can walk everywhere. And there's many, many fun events throughout the year as well. So on the top row there, you can see Medball, Medhunt, and Medcup. So as you can see, we're very creative with the names, and these are great icebreakers in first year. And as you progress through the years, they're a great way to just see your friends and catch up and have a laugh as well. So Surgeon Union is a charity that's run by 4th year medical students to help fund hospitals in sub-Saharan Africa, so Ghana, Tanzania, Malawi. And as part of our placement in summer of 4th year, you go over to Africa for a month. Which is a really great experience that we all are looking forward to. Skiing is also a great icebreaker and a great way to make new friends and a lot of fun. And we get to do electives straight 1st, 2nd, and 3rd year. So I did Irish for the first 2 years. So if there's any Gael Gores out there, you get to go to Ballyferter in Dingle, which is super fun as well. So now I'm going to pass you on to Aveen, who's going to talk about NUIG and inferior college to UCC.
Thank you for that, Dylan. I have to disagree. 16% of you voted for Galway in the poll. Hopefully I can convince the rest of you that Galway is the only place to go. So as you can see, here's the Galway starter pack. The rain is accurate, I'm afraid, but I hopefully can convince you to come nonetheless. So on my next slide, I have a few tidbits about the course itself in Galway. Sorry, the next slide again. Thank you. So in Galway, it's a 5 or 6 year course with an optional pre-med. And as Anya mentioned earlier, it's very important to bear in mind, if you have a year of another science degree from any college in Ireland, you will be prioritized to skip that pre-med year, and you can keep your free fees for the rest of the course. So just bear that in mind. Also, if you are in Leaving Cert, you'll be prioritized for that 5-year course if you have all 3 science subjects, so that is biology, chemistry, and physics. But I would recommend doing pre-med because if you can be a student for an extra year in a great city like Galway, why wouldn't you? And also in pre-med, you get early clinical exposure. So we actually got to go into the hospitals and talk to patients and take histories and stuff. And I thought that was a really excellent experience to get in your very first year in college. Tells you a lot about what the job will be like. We also have a brand new human biology building in Galway. It was built in 2018. I'm in my 3rd year of the course at the moment, and we have every single lecture and lab in there. So it's nice to have it all in the one place, and it's state of the art. It's really great. In Galway, we also have Erasmus options for your placement in 4th year. So you can go to Sweden, France, or Germany, which is great. Why Galway itself? As a university, we have more societies and clubs to join than any other university. I took up cheerleading when I first started. I don't do it anymore, but it was very fun. Our medical society is one of the most active ones in the country, and we're currently running a 100 miles of MedSoc fundraiser event. So by the end of October, I'm supposed to have ran 100 miles. We'll see how we get on with that. And then when November rolls around, we've got an event called Coldvember, where we basically all jump off of that pier there, Blackrock, every morning to wake us up and for the lectures for the day. Also, as you know, Galway is infamous for its nightlife. We've got a great rag week, great 12 pubs. So even if you don't come to college in Galway, I would recommend coming up for one of those events. But if you have any more questions about studying in Galway, there is a video of me on the AccessMed Ireland Instagram answering all the questions you could possibly have, and there's one for all the other universities as well. So I'll pass you on to Tiernan now, who's going to tell you all about Trinity and what it's like studying there. Thanks, guys.
Hi, my name is Tiernan. So of course you can see the starter back there has to include Connell from Normal People. We're not all like that, but if you'd like to study in a college that has had a series written about them and screenplayed about them, definitely go to Trinity. So I'm a 3rd year medical student now. So if we just move to the next slide, thank you. So I'm in hospitals now full time. So I'm going to give you guys a rundown on why I think Trinity is actually the best college in the world. So whereas all the other colleges claim to be the best, Trinity is actually ranked the best in Ireland. It's ranked 105 in the world. So that should convince a lot of you to maybe change your answers. I saw Trinity wasn't very high up there, so hopefully I can convince you to come. So Trinity is great because we have patient interaction from year 1. So in year 1, what you'll do is you'll follow a family case study around for the entire year, which is really good. It's a good icebreaker. It gets you kind of involved in kind of like what the care is of kind of families as well. In first year, you also have like your basics, your anatomy and physio. So it's a 5-year course, so you go straight into it. And you also have small group learning experiences as well in PBL. Then in second year, you have research opportunities, which is great. And just kind of get like a knowledge of how research is conducted. You have neuro, and you kind of build on the basics you've learned in first year. So you kind of more clinically focus stuff like clinical biochem and pharmacology. And then from 3rd year onwards, you're in hospitals full time. So I've gone through emergency department placements, orthopedics, and nephrology, and I really, really liked it because you can apply all the knowledge you've learned in your first 2 years, and it's really, really relevant, and you have a great time as well. So then after 3rd year, you kind of have a unique opportunity as opposed to other colleges where you can do an intercalated master's in stuff like immunology and neuroscience and oncology, which is really good if you kind of want to focus on one area. And it kind of also gives you a break as well from all the kind of clinically focused stuff, and it just kind of a bit easier. So Dylan, if you'd like to move to the next slide. Thank you. So why I enjoy Trinity so much, so there's a great group of people in Trinity. The BioSoc there, which is the medicine society, is really, really active, and it's great just to kind of get a feel for who's in the course with you, and you get kind of like a great community and a great family as well. So BioSoc will have things like surf trips. We go abroad every year as well. We have loads of events during the year like Med Ball, Med Cup. Again, not too adventurous with the names. And you'll get loads of opportunities to know everyone in your course. We also have a great charity society called Med Day. That's once a year. We go around raising funds, and I think last year we raised over 100,000 as well for various charities, which is really, really good. Trinity itself is also a great location. It's in the center of town. On the top left there, you see TBSI, which is on Pierce Street. Loads around it. You have a Sombrero Cafe around where you'll hang out with all your friends, and it's just a great society as well. There's loads of other societies like the film, the HIS, the baiting societies, and then loads of sport as well. I know I'm involved in the tennis and the varsities, which is the competition in between colleges. Was one of the best experiences I've had in first year. So I hope that convinces all of you to come to Trinity, and hopefully I'll see you around campus. So I'll pass you on to John now, who'll talk about RCSI.
Thanks, Tiernan. So yeah, this is the RCSI starter pack. Yeah, we're just off St. Stephen's Green, and we do seem to brag about our MacBook, but it is free, so that is why we do it. So my name's John. I'm a first year medical student at the RCSI. So I've only been on campus about 3 weeks, but I'll do my best to sell RCSI to you and hopefully convince you to go there. So at RCSI, there's a 5 or 6 year course based on your leaving cert subject choices. We do have early patient contact, so that's seminars, conversations with patients, or visits to GP practices. So we're in the very heart of Dublin City. So we're on the Lewis line. Most Dublin bus stops are only a few minutes away, and RCSI will also offer you subsidized parking if you want to drive into campus. So we are a relatively small university campus compared to others, but that's because we only teach 3 courses. So we're solely focused on healthcare. So it really is a huge medicine campus. We're the biggest medical school in the country, and we have brand new facilities like those on York Street that you see on the left there. RCSI also does a TY mini-med program for those that are listening in 4th year. Really is a fantastic program, and it's definitely something to be signing up to. So while you're in the College of Surgeons, you do get a free MacBook, as I said, and they will also pay your peripheral fees. So that's your accommodation in your later years when you're on hospital placements. And there are also opportunities for intercalated masters like in Trinity and summer research programs as well. Something else about RCSI is their systems-based learning approach. So that's where they teach you everything about one system in a class rather than having segregated over various modules like the other universities. So next slide, please. So I know a lot of people slag RCSI saying we mightn't have the best social life, but I can guarantee you we do. And in general, while in medical school, there is definitely the possibility for a social life and a work life if that's something you plan on doing. So we obviously got very creative, and we called our main social event the College Ball and not the Med Ball, which you see in the bottom left there. And we also have other events like the Chocolate Ball, where we raise money for various charities. So we have over 50 societies. So that's like your musical society, and 25 of those are career focused. So you have Surgical Society, Pediatric Society. And we also have 35 clubs like rugby or hockey club, as you see in the bottom right there. So another special thing about RCSI is how many nationalities we have represented at the college. So we have over 60 at the moment, meaning we're really diverse and do have ties all over the world, which means we have lots of interesting social events like international food events and international nights out. So that's it from me and from RCSI, and I really hope you consider studying there one day. Thank you.
I might ask Dylan to go on to the next slide there. I think there might be a UCD starter pack hiding somewhere. There you go. So, I mean, you don't even need to look at the starter pack. UCD is the best college. There's just there's no discussion on this. There's a lot of ag content here. Don't know how I feel about that now. I personally didn't bring my farmer's cap today, but you know, most days I would. UCD Confessions, we do have our own Gossip Girl page. I don't know if Trinity or RCSI have one of those. We have Dublin Bus, again, great stuff. A lot of the tracksuit bottoms there, you actually have to wear those if you want to go to UCD. They won't let you in otherwise. Yeah, UCD, the best college. That's all I can say, really. Thank you to all the guys from the colleges. Hopefully that helps you make up your mind which one you might like best, UCD. And I'll pass you on now to Keisha, who's going to talk you through the financials.
Hi guys, my name is Keisha and I'm a second year med student in NUIG, and I'm going to talk to you about financial supports and scholarships available. So SUSI is the Student Universal Support in Ireland. Applications for SUSI open in April and they close in July. So they accept late applications under certain circumstances. So just check if you're eligible for SUSI on their website and make sure you tick SUSI on your CAO application. So with SUSI, under the Free Fees Initiative, the government will cover your tuition fee if you're an EU citizen or an Irish citizen. So depending on your family income, you might have to pay the student contribution charge, which is about €3,000 per annum. So SUSI will decide whether they'll pay it or you have to. And also SUSI offers grants, so that varies depending on your family income and your distance from the university. So each college has student centre levies. So this goes towards running the cost of student unions, society and the events. So UCD is €254, Trinity €192, RCSI €135, but they also have an IT fee, which are paying for that MacBook basically. But Cork have €130 and Galway €140. So when you come into medicine, you have to undergo student health screening, which is necessary because you're going to be in contact with patients. So that's about €280 to €300, depending on what college you go to. So there's also the education access routes, such as here or there, and you apply for these through the CAO. And these are access routes, and they provide support systems, books, grants, financial aid, scholarships, and they also offer reduced points places, up to 20% of reduced points. So you have to meet 3 out of the 6 criteria on their website. These are the criteria such as income, medical cards, if your family receives social welfare payments, if you're from a certain socioeconomic group, and if you attend a DESH school in the area that you're from. So other supports while you're in college include the Student Assistance Fund. There's also like hardship funds if you run into difficulty during your studies, funds for students with disabilities, and main tested funds. So that you apply for these through your college's financial access disability offices, and just keep an eye on the website just to see if there's any updates. So there's also grants you can apply for while you're in 6th year right now. So with credit union scholarships, you have to be a member of the credit union to get them. There's also St. Vincent de Paul also offer education bursaries, and we have our HPAT scholarships ongoing, and the deadline for that is 16th of October. So the 1916 bursary is a scholarship, and there's about 8 per college. So once you get into the college, it'll be released, and the form will be there. You have to fill it out, and you have to meet certain criteria as well. So for example, UCD also have Ad Astra scholarships, which relate to academic, sports, performing arts, and they also have the Corpus Fana scholarships. NUIG have the AccessMed scholarships for high leaving cert points, and also scholarships for students that come from Roscommon, Donegal, or Mayo. Trinity have their entrance scholarship, sports scholarships. They also have scholars, which is like an exam you sit when you're a Trinity student. You get money, free campus accommodation for 9 months, free daily 3-course meal called Commons, and also your college fees waived. So the thing about RCSI scholarships, you need to be looking into it when you're in 6th year. So the first scholarship where they award you for highest leaving certain HPAT points combined, you need to fill out the form while you're still in 6th year. And also for the AIM High Medicine Scholarship, that's about €25,000. So €5,000 spread out throughout the 5 years of med school. The Aim High Medicine Scholarship is in relation to the HERE scheme. So that form also needs to be filled out because you need like references from your year head or teachers. So just look into that while you're in 6th year. And Cork also have their entrance scholarship for like highest leaving cert points. So with also the grants and the scholarships that don't require applications because they're based only on LC and leaving cert results, the All Ireland Scholarship and 3rd level bursary scheme. So on our website, we have a full database of all the scholarships that we need. So anything you need, it's on our resources tab on our website. So just hop up there and have a wee look. So when it comes to student loans, definitely you want to open up your student bank account, which has no quarterly charges and also very little interest rate. So definitely like getting loans from like your bank with your student account and your credit union as well as possible. You just also don't want to run up like lots of loans and then come back and ask for money and they'll be like immediately no. So if you don't have a job, you'll definitely need a guarantor such as a parent. And a lot of people always ask, can you work during med school? Well, in my case, my first degree was radiography. So when I went back to Susie and I was like, hey, can I get some money? And they were like, should she suffer? All right, clap if you think she should suffer. So I have to work while in med school, and it's definitely possible in your pre-clinical years. And most of our team work in like Dunn's, pharmacy, SuperValue, McDonald's, call centers. So you just need to make sure you're managing your time well and you're not burning yourself out. So these are on-campus accommodation prices. So in UCD, it's about 6K to 15K. This is just a list of all of them here. The waiting list for these applications, you can apply it. They kind of open February, March. So just keep an eye out for them. So you can pop your name down, even if you're not planning to go to the certain colleges, just have your name down anyway. And definitely rent is cheaper depending on your location and your distance from the university. So just keep an eye out on daft.ie and rent.ie. And also watch out for landlords, because when you're a first year, they kind of think you're naive and try to scam you. So just keep an eye out, and don't, just my advice, if I could go back and tell myself things, is like, don't put down any deposits without viewing the property, because if you do, you'll definitely have to have one eye open when you're sleeping. So these are the rent prices in each city per month. So Dublin's about 400 to 750 per month. Cork is like 580 to 600 per month, and Galway is like 300 to 600 euro per month. But when you're renting, you also have to factor in like if you're going to have to pay for like travel costs as well. So the cost of living for an average student per month is like maybe 250 to 500 euro, taking account in like food, utilities, travel, and personal expenses. So that's just a guesstimate. Like obviously, if you're eating tons of takeout and stuff, it's going to shoot right up. And if you're spending all your time on Pretty Little Thing like I do, it's going to shoot up. But like, you just obviously have to budget when you're in college. So when you're a student as well, there's like tons of student deals available. So you definitely can get loads of discounts like Pretty Little Thing, Domino's. Your student leap card gives you discounted travel. So definitely like there's some perks in student life. You get like a medium value meal from McDonald's for a $5. So there's some perks for sure. And that's mainly the financial part. I'll hand you over back to Coney there.
All right, thank you, Keisha. So that's the end of the main section of this talk. So now we have our Q&A with a lovely panelists. So yeah, just before the Q&A, you're going to be sent a survey to your emails. Fill it out. Give us feedback. We like constructive criticism. Don't be too mean, please. And then you'll also get access to our free resources for HPAT study, a step-by-step guide with deadlines for applying to medicine, and as Keisha mentioned, our financial database. So on to our Q&A.
Just before the Q&A, another little reminder about our HPAT scholarships. So if you haven't applied already, we have 14 HPAT scholarships to give away. The deadline is the 16th of October at 9 a.m. So definitely get on that. And our giveaway winners. So our winner from Twitter is at Juliana Maeve, and from Instagram is at Dunn Official. I think the name on that is James Dunn. So congrats, guys. You're going to get a stethoscope. If you just message our Instagram or Facebook, we'll sort that out for you.
All right, so on to the Q&A. So what questions we got, guys? So first question I have here is, would you recommend doing a 5 or 6 year course? Any takers? I'll take it then. I really like the 6 year course. Like for the Leaving Cert, I didn't do biology. I did physics and chemistry. And that was the thing I was kind of worried about before going into medicine. It's like, oh, everyone has all this knowledge about cells and stuff, and I'm just like doing all my maths. But I really enjoyed it. Pre-med was so fun. I remember first week we came in, and they had the med soc. Everyone was like, oh wow, look, we're in medicine, cool, cool. And they were like, I remember the first lecture, it was like, whoa, intense. Well, not that intense, but then they're like, guys, relax. Pre-med is the TY of medicine. You're gonna have a fun time. You'll just chill. So I definitely recommend it. But also I have friends in different colleges who went into Trinity and did the 5 year course, and they're loving it as well. So it really depends on you. So if you're all for like getting the work done and like you see yourself as a doctor pretty young, definitely do a 5 year course. But if you just want to chill, which I think is better personally, definitely go for the 6 year course.
Okay, so next question, we have one here. Can I do my HPAT and Leaving Cert in 2 different years? So your HPAT score can only be used the year that you're going into college, but if you've sat the Leaving Cert in a previous year, you can combine an older Leaving Cert with a new current HPAT.
All right, next question. Should I prioritize the mocks or the HPAT around February? Does anyone else want to take that?
I can take that if you'd like. So I would 100% prioritize the HPAT. Like I completely dismiss the mocks. And because you see, you have so much time to prepare for the Leaving Cert, but if you're like me and only started studying for the HPAT at the end of January, you need to give it your all, because you know it's only a week. The mocks are only a week, but the HPAT could completely change your course of studying in college. So I would prioritize the hot mocks, even if you're like me and get a H7 in maths in the mocks, and your teacher is like, "What the hell is wrong with you?" and end up doing much better in the real thing. It honestly makes it worth it if you prioritize the HPAT.
Very good, thanks, Bevan. I have another HPAT question here. So if one of our HPAT speakers wants to take this one, how many hours should you spend per week studying for the HPAT?
I can take this one there. So I used to generally leave my Saturday afternoons to HPAT. So I'd take maybe 2-3 hours on a Saturday afternoon to just go over HPAT questions and just prep whatever way I was feeling that week. I wouldn't do exams every week. Some weeks I'd do exams, other weeks I'd go through questions from previous exams. It really depends. Everyone has their own study methods, but I would recommend doing a small bit every week just so the workload doesn't get too much.
So next question, common misconceptions about studying medicine that people don't realize before going into course. So is anything that you didn't expect? Anyone want to get at that question?
I can take this one. I feel like people think that people that study medicine have no social life at all, which is a huge misconception because we kind of go crazy sometimes, I can't lie.
Another question here. Are there any career opportunities outside of being a doctor if I study medicine? Does anyone want to take that one?
Yeah, I can take that one because in Galway, people go on to do a lot of research. You can even do an integrated PhD with the course. So a lot of people do go on to do stuff like biomedical research. And I think it's something I'd be interested in doing myself. You can go on to doing professorships and all that kind of stuff as well. Or you could go back and do biomedical engineering. You could do anything really. It's a great base degree to have. So if you're unsure what you want to do and you know you're interested in the biomedical area, I think a medical degree is a great one to start with, even if you don't know if you want to be a doctor or not.
I think another common question is, should I start prepping for the HPAT in 5th or 6th year? So anyone want to take that?
I can take this one. So I did start reading up about the HPAT probably over the summer before 6th year, but there isn't any need to start studying before 6th year. There's plenty of time in 6th year to do it. Once you balance your time between that and your leave and start study, and leaving time for yourself as well, that's important too.
I have one here. Are there any major differences between the different universities for studying medicine? So I think some of our speakers earlier did kind of compare like what it's like studying medicine in different courses, but does anyone want to say like if there's anything they feel is particularly good about their college in terms of the teaching?
Yeah, I can take this one actually. It was actually something that I found hard. If I found it really hard to get information on what the actual difference is. And I know that's RCSI and UCD. I'm not too sure about the rest, but RCSI and UCD learn systems based, which means that you do the anatomy, pharmacology, and clinical skills by each biological system, rather than doing pharmacology as like a separate subject on its own and anatomy as a separate subject on its own. And I found that a much easier way to learn doing them as part of a system, rather than trying to remember all the pharmacology while progressing on through the years.
All right. Next question. Are there any transferable skills one would need or rather want to have for med school? We kind of covered that in our Kahoot, but any other skills that you think are useful?
I can take that one. I think a really important thing to note is good interpersonal skills. So if you have a part-time job, you're already at an advantage. If you're working in a shop or anything like that, you might think it's not advantageous to you at all, but it definitely makes all the difference. I worked in a shop back home for years, and I think I learned more there than I ever did in med school, really, in terms of dealing with people. So I think good interpersonal skills is probably the main transferable skill that you will need. I don't know if anyone has any others.
I think being really eager helps as well. If you're just able to kind of like interact with people, show that you really want to learn, like you'll be able to get places as well. So I think that's one of the things that you should really be able to do. Just ask loads of questions, like what you guys are doing here. You're really eager because you're coming to the talk, which is great. So I think that shows in yourself that it's good.
One more I'd say as well is a timetable. So be it for study, friends, and time for yourself. I think that's another good skill that you could have from leaving Cert that you can bring to college.
I have a new question here. One that I actually don't know the answer to. What do you do in a medical course? I still don't know what I'm doing. So if anyone could help me out with this, what do you study and do you go to hospitals?
Yeah, so I could take this one. So generally it's kind of split in between clinical and then pre-clinical years. So in the pre-clinical years, what you'll learn your basic subjects. So you'll have anatomy, which is learning about like the different systems in the body. Then the physiology, you're kind of looking more in depth of like how cells work. And then you'll have biochemistry as well, which is kind of like a mixture between biology and chemistry. So you go over things like kind of like I'm sure a lot of you are already annoyed about the Krebs cycle and oxidative phosphorylation. So you'll go into that in a bit more depth as well. So then you'd also do in the preclinical years, you do other things like pharmacology, where you learn about the different drugs that doctors can use to treat patients. And then when you're in the clinical years in the hospitals, you'll rotate through different types of medicine. So for example, me, I've already done emergency medicine. So very similar to kind of like all the shows you'll see, like Grey's Anatomy and stuff like that. It's not all like that, but at times it can be like that as well. And then, so that would be kind of surgery based, and then orthopedics as well I've done. So you'd go around the wards, you'd see the patients, and then you'd have times where you could go into surgeries and see the operations as well. And then you'd rotate through some other things. So for example, in Trinity in 4th year, what you do is you do pediatrics, you do psychiatry, and then you'd have rural GP placements as well. So you kind of have a mix and match through the years. So it depends on what rotations you get in the colleges, but generally from in UCD, it's 4th year onwards. And I think in Trinity and RCSI, it's 3rd year onwards. So you'll split the years basically.
All right, another question we have is how do you transfer out of another course, like saying UCD or NUIG, and how does that actually work? So do you want to give that a go?
Yeah, I'll take that. So, well, I know for UCD, when I was looking into it, you had to have done the course, like the science or biomed science in UCD in order to transfer into medicine there. You couldn't, like I tried for pharmacy, I did pharmacy in Trinity, and I couldn't transfer into UCD medicine from my time in Trinity. But I think NUIG is different. You can have a science degree from any university and transfer into their 5-year program without losing your free fees.
Yeah, absolutely. Anya's right there. You can come from any other college into Galway, and if you can just show them that you had intent of doing medicine so that you reset the HPAT that year, you get your free fees and you get to continue on as if you had done the first year in Galway, but you'll have to reapply for medicine in Galway on the CAO while you're doing your first year of the degree, be that in UCD or Trinity or anywhere. So you just apply again like you did the first time round, if that makes sense.
Thanks, Even. I have another question here. Might ask a few people their answer on this one. It's what do you find most enjoyable about medicine? So for me, I love anatomy, and I think it's really cool to go into the dissection lab and kind of to see all the organs there, and just it makes learning a lot easier when you see it all in person. It's really, really cool. So that's probably my favorite thing. If somebody else wants to share theirs.
I think for us in RCSI, as I've mentioned, I'm in 2nd year of the 6-year program. And that's if you guys go straight into the 5-year program, that will be your first year, but you already get patient contact, which I think is really nice to kind of keep you going through, you know, the heavy material, and because there can be a lot of theory and a lot of studying. So we get to take histories and do physical exams, which is a really nice way of just kind of, it's like a nice reminder of, you know, why you're doing this in the first place. So that would definitely be my favorite part.
All right, the question, when did you know you wanted to do medicine? For me, I feel like I kind of decided on a whim, because I remember like it was like late fifth year, like early 6th year, we had a careers day in school, and then there's a lot of people talking. We went to this engineering talk with my friend, and it was so boring. I won't lie. No offense to anyone doing engineering. I hope they're not in this talk. Probably not, because we're here for medicine. But it was really boring. And then we went to the medicine talk afterwards. It was just one doctor from RCSI, I think he teaches there. And he was just talking from personal experience, all anecdotal. And he just made it seem like, oh, this is super enjoyable. And then I think me and my friend, we were just like, do you want to go for it? And just went in. So yeah, I don't think I put that much thought into it. I was just like, okay, it seems like a fun course. But obviously, like, if you're here, you put more thought into it. But like, I'd say once you know, you kind of know. And so if you think you want to do it, definitely go for it.
So someone has asked, would you recommend spending more time on science subjects to better prepare for studying medicine, or is there a point? To be honest, I think as long as you get in, like that's the main thing your leaving cert subjects are for, is getting your points. So focus on the subjects you enjoy. That's what I did anyways. And it's just easier to do well if you, so, you know, if your favorite subject is French, by all means, put loads of effort into that. When you go into college, they'll do all of the science subjects pretty much from the basics all over again. Like a lot of my friends didn't do biology or chemistry, and everything is covered when you go into college. So I would say, like, you don't really need to put loads and loads and loads of effort into it for college. It's more for your leaving cert points.
But I will say one thing, if you actually want to choose a science subject out of the three, physics, chemistry, and biology, chemistry will be the hardest one to catch up with in college. I didn't do biology and it was fine, but definitely if you have any interest in chemistry, you'll be using it a lot.
Another question, are there career opportunities outside of being a doctor if you study medicine? Anyone look at this?
I think Ethan answered that one earlier.
Maybe I read it twice. Then another question, okay, regarding the HPAT, how can you improve certain sections? So like section 1, what would be your advice to improve?
Well, one thing I did, because I did it twice, my section 2 was the worst section, so I put a lot of time into that at the start for like reading or learning vocabulary, because that was one thing that always brought me down. So I think once you get the results, there's always something that you can just focus on at the start. So that was my section 2, or if it's section 3, just going over the patterns and getting used to patterns that come up. But yeah, it definitely is possible to improve, especially when you know your weaknesses if you're doing it again.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well. The biggest change I made the third time I did it was a lot of communication skills in that I was using in pharmacy. I feel like being in patient-facing situations actually really improved my section 2 score. So again, as we said, like getting a part-time job and stuff like that can actually make a difference. And I think that does affect your section 2 score.
So someone has asked, how many hours should you spend per week studying for the HPAT? This is probably something that will vary a lot person to person, but does anyone want to throw out a number?
I mean, I probably spent about 2.5 hours a week, I think, studying for the HPAT. I'd kind of like do my normal study for the leaving cert and then like do like half an hour of HPAT study like every night, just practicing questions.
You can also, if you'd like, maybe dedicate a day in the weekend to going over your HPAT stuff as well, especially if you have start studying earlier in the year, around September, October, just timetable maybe like Ella did, like a morning on Saturday where you can just focus on your HPAT stuff. And then when it comes up to the HPAT closer, of course, increase your hours and maybe take a day or two off them before the exam.
A question regarding the course, do the years get progressively harder or remain the relative like difficulty throughout the course?
I think it really depends on college to college, and also as you go through the courses, it will seem, I know when you're in final year, it might seem as though second and first year were easy, but when you're in them, they might feel a bit harder. I know in Trinity anyway, second year is always said that it's kind of the hardest because it's a lot at you, but as long as you keep up with the work, you'll be fine. And that's also why people might like doing pre-med years as well, because it gets them used to college life and what it'll be like to prepare them for first year. So you might want to go through a 6th-year course or stuff like that.
What's one thing you wish you knew before doing medicine? Any takers? It's a tough one. No one wishes they know everything. We all know everything we need to know. I wish I knew that you didn't have to have loads of doctors in your family. I went in and I was so paranoid that like I would go in on the first day and everyone would just have come from this long line of consultants. Nobody in my family went to college, let alone did medicine. So I was very worried starting out that, you know, you wouldn't fit in, or I don't know, that you had to know people, but don't worry, you don't. There are plenty of people who don't have any doctors in their family and they're all going to be just as good doctors as people who come from a long line.
Another question we have here, were you always a top student, or were your grades like above a certain level, or like what academic level should you be at to get into medicine?
Will I answer this one? Hello, hi. I think definitely, well, obviously try your best in school, but to be realistic with yourself, you're still a human, you're a human being. You don't want to overdo it. Try your best, and academically, you should be aiming to get to the top, especially because leaving cert points, you need quite a, like maybe over, they say over 540 leaving cert points. But like, to be very honest with you, it's not always an easy ride. Like, it's not every exam you get an A on. Like, even I think back to like my undergrad, and I remember repeating physiology twice and coming to the module coordinator in her office again. I was like, hey, it's me. But like, it's just, you just keep pushing yourself. So academic wise, definitely you want to be putting in the work. It's just definitely motivating yourself, even when you don't want to do it, just keep going. So yeah.
And I'd just like to add to definitely not be discouraged if you're not hitting the points that you kind of want to be getting for your actual leaving cert. Because I know for me, for my mocks anyways, like I got like 400 points in my mocks, 400 and something. And like I jumped up by a lot for the actual leaving cert. So there's definitely a lot of room to improve. It's definitely possible to improve. So don't think that, oh, because I'm not getting these grades now, that I won't be able to get in. But if you really dedicate yourself to it, you'll definitely be able to do it.
Another question here. If I don't get medicine but want to transfer in, what course should I put on my CAO? So I know a lot of people do biomed or science and they can transfer in, but as Anya mentioned earlier, she did pharmacy as well and found that really good. Don't know if anyone else has done another course and transferred in.
I did radiography as my previous one, and it comes in handy because I can actually work as a radiographer from time to time. And a lot of like the radiography stuff pops up again when it comes to like reading MRIs and CTs and X-rays. It's not like as new, like I can kind of adapt to it. So it's definitely a handy one to have. And you get with radiography and UCD, you get a Bachelor of Science as well. So it's definitely one I recommend. Yeah.
Okay, I think this is our last question. So what's the best piece of advice you were given when trying to get into medicine?
I'm going to be really cliche and say never give up, like just keep trying. Like it's worth all the hard work. Like once you get in, it's so worth it. So I know that's really cliche, but
yeah, for sure, guys. And like I remember, like I used to, when the HPAT results came out, and I used to just cry on the kitchen table. Like it's just the whole cycle. It's so horrible. And I did HPAT like 3 times. It was just such a journey. Then I had to take a year out after I graduated and worked. It's just such a long thing. And you just kind of start like fighting the system, like, oh my God, why do you hate me? But like, even when I was looking at my journals and stuff, like, and I used to be like, oh, I'm so sad and depressed, or not depressed really, not that deep, but like just like, you know, you're just really sad when HPAT results and leaving cert results and it's not happening for you at that very moment. And also when you see other people and they're getting in, you're like, oh my God, you just try so hard. Like just, I used to be like, so just definitely take your time and just know your path is not going to be the same as the person beside you. Like your path is your path, and there's a reason you go through these bumps in the road. It sounds very Rumi Kapoor now, but like, you know, just take your time and it'll happen for you. Like, it will definitely happen for you.
I think one of the best advices that I got for anything is it's a marathon, not a sprint. So you can get overwhelmed with a lot of information like now, and when you're kind of thinking, you think there's so much to do, but at the end of the day, you know, you just need to take it one step at a time. You don't need to do everything now. It's okay if you can't do one thing today. Just make sure that you have a timetable for the next day, and in the end, you'll get there eventually. It's like for anything, you just need to think you don't need to do everything in this minute. You can just set time aside, timetable it out, and then, you know, you mightn't get it you mightn't be winning in the first 1K, but when you're like towards the end, you'll be there. Just to pace yourself.
Hi everyone, I just want to say a big thank you for coming to our event tonight. I hope you really enjoyed it and we'll be able to get some insight on applying to medicine, hopefully inspired you guys to apply to medicine. So I just have to say a big thank you to all of our sponsors who allowed this event to happen. Big thank you to IMS and especially Helena and Jean, who have been working really hard behind the scenes to make sure we have all the tech support and the Zoom has been running successfully. So thank you so much. And there's also a few other sponsors such as Medisec, MPS, GP Buddy, Critical Healthcare, Royal College of Physicians Ireland, Women's Medicine in Ireland Network, and countless anonymous doctors who have donated towards our scholarships and also help us to run everything day to day. Big thank you to all of our speakers and especially our behind the scenes team who've been working really hard to answer all of your questions, been working on the Twitter and Instagram. We couldn't have done it without you guys, so thank you so much. And lastly, thank you guys so much for coming to our event. We hope you really enjoyed it, and definitely keep an eye on our socials and our website because we have a lot of things planned for you guys this year, whether it be potentially HPAT questions, more HPAT questions, or question banks or courses. So just keep an eye out for it. So yeah, thank you. Oh, and make sure to fill out our feedback form because you'll be able to access all of our resources from it. Yeah, thanks guys.